Welcome to Craziest Top Tens, the channel where we dive into the most thrilling and chilling stories you've ever heard. We're about to embark on a journey into the unknown, a countdown of the top 10 scariest, most unexplainable true events ever recorded. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single terrifying tale. Picture a typical English family living in a modest council house in Enfield, North London. It's 1977, and the Hodgson family, single mother Peggy and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny and Billy, are about to have their lives turned upside down. They were just ordinary people, living ordinary lives until the shadows crept in. The Hodgsons' home, 284 Green Street, was your average, unassuming brick building. It held no dark secrets, no whispered tales of tragedy, at least not yet, but soon the walls would echo with something more than just the sounds of family life. Something sinister was lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to unleash its terror. This isn't some Hollywood horror movie, this is real life. We're talking about real people experiencing something terrifying, something beyond human comprehension. And the worst part, no one could have prepared them for what was to come. Imagine the fear, the confusion, as everyday objects begin to move on their own. Furniture sliding across the floor, seemingly with a mind of its own. Loud, unexplained noises echoing through the house in the dead of night. It started subtly, like a whisper in the darkness, but it quickly escalated into a full-blown nightmare. And at the center of it all was 11-year-old Janet Hodgson. The events that unfolded around Janet would soon shock the world and cement the Enfield Poltergeist case as one of the most compelling and terrifying hauntings in history. It started subtly, a series of knocks, not the kind you'd expect from a friendly neighbor, but sharp, insistent raps that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Peggy Hodgson, a woman who had already endured her fair share of hardship, initially dismissed the sounds. Maybe it was just the pipes, she thought, or the house settling. But deep down, a mother's intuition told her something wasn't right. As the days turned into nights, the knocking grew louder, more persistent. It was as if whatever was trapped inside the walls of 284 Green Street was growing bolder, testing the boundaries of its confinement. Then the furniture started moving. Chairs would slide across the room as if pushed by an unseen hand. Drawers would open and slam shut with a violent force. Imagine the terror that must have gripped the Hodgson family as they watched their home, their sanctuary, transform into a battleground for unseen forces. The children, their eyes wide with fear, huddled together for safety, their playful laughter replaced by nervous whispers. Peggy, a woman of immense strength and determination, refused to be driven from her home.
I tried to rationalize the events, desperately seeking a logical explanation, but the truth was undeniable. Something paranormal had invaded our lives.
One evening, as the family gathered in the living room, a heavy chest of drawers began to shake violently. The children screamed, their voices echoing through the house, but their cries were drowned out by the cacophony of unseen forces at work. The disturbances seemed to center around Janet, the second youngest of the Hodgson children. As the hauntings escalated, so too did the family's desperation. Chapter 3. Janet's Ordeal. Janet Hodgson, just 11 years old, became the epicenter of the Enfield haunting. Imagine, if you will, the terror of a child thrust into a waking nightmare. Her innocence ripped away by forces beyond her understanding. The entity, whatever it was, seemed to gravitate towards her, choosing her as its vessel, its voice.
At first it was subtle. Objects would move around me, seemingly drawn to my presence. My bed would shake violently in the dead of night, the covers pulled back as if by unseen hands.
But as the days turned into weeks, the activity intensified, becoming more aggressive, more sinister. One of the most disturbing phenomena was Janet's voice. It would change, morphing into a guttural rasp, a voice that seemed to belong to an elderly man.
She would speak in tongues, uttering phrases in languages she had never learned.
Imagine the fear that must have gripped Janet's heart as she felt her own body betray her, her voice no longer her own. She would writhe in pain, her small frame contorted into unnatural positions, as if an invisible force was pulling her strings, forcing her to perform for its amusement. The family watched in horror as Janet, their sweet, playful child, was transformed into a stranger before their very eyes. They tried to comfort her, to reassure her that everything would be all right. But deep down, they knew they were fighting a losing battle.
The entity, emboldened by its hold over me, grew more daring.
Chapter 4. The investigation and media attention. Word of the Enfield haunting spread like wildfire, quickly attracting the attention of the media and paranormal investigators alike. Reporters and camera crews descended upon 284 Green Street, eager to document the strange and terrifying events that were unfolding within its walls. The Hodgson family found themselves thrust into the spotlight, their lives turned into a media circus.
Among those who investigated the Enfield case were Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair, two respected members of the Society for Psychical Research. Grosse, a seasoned investigator with a calm, reassuring demeanor, approached the case with an open mind, while Playfair, a journalist and author, was initially skeptical but soon became convinced of the haunting's authenticity.
For months, Grosse and Playfair lived with the Hodgson family, meticulously documenting every unexplained occurrence. They set up cameras and audio recorders, hoping to capture evidence of the entity that seemed to have taken up residence in the house. They interviewed witnesses, analyzed photographs, and conducted experiments in an attempt to understand the nature of the phenomena they were witnessing. What they found was both compelling and terrifying.
Objects moved on their own, seemingly defying the laws of physics. Unexplained voices were captured on tape, whispering threats and obscenities. And through it all, Janet Hodgson remained the focal point of the activity, her small body seemingly a conduit for the entity's power.
One of the most compelling pieces of evidence came in the form of audio recordings on these tapes. A gruff male voice, which claimed to be that of a former resident named Bill Wilkins, could be heard speaking through Janet. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. The Enfield poltergeist case remains one of the most debated and analysed paranormal events in history. While the hauntings eventually subsided, the impact on the Hodgson family and those who investigated the case was profound and lasting. Janet Hodgson, who bore the brunt of the entity's attention, carried the scars of her experience for years to come. The trauma of being possessed, of having her body used as a conduit for something dark and malevolent, left an indelible mark on her psyche. She faced ridicule and disbelief from those who dismissed her story as a hoax, but she also found solace and support from those who believed her. The Enfield case left an enduring legacy, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and even Hollywood films. It forced people to confront the possibility that our reality is not as fixed or as rational as we might like to believe. It challenged our understanding of the nature of consciousness, the boundaries of the self, and the very fabric of our existence. Despite the skepticism and the controversy, the Enfield poltergeist case continues to fascinate and terrify people around the world. The evidence, though debated and scrutinized, remains compelling. The Hodgson family's ordeal at 284 Green Street remains a chilling reminder that some things simply defy explanation. Was it a genuine haunting, a manifestation of unseen forces manipulating our world? Or was it an elaborate hoax, a clever manipulation of perception fueled by youthful imagination and media hype? The evidence is there, begging to be examined, debated, and dissected. Was it real or just an elaborate prank? Decide for yourself in the comments, subscribe and stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories.